Are you looking at two perfectly identical bikes, wondering if the hydraulic upgrade is worth the cash? Or maybe you're building a touring rig and someone swore mechanical is the only right way. Let me explain. The debate between mechanical and hydraulic disc brakes is historic. Both stop your bike, but how they do it, how they feel, and what they demand from you are entirely different. Here's what matters most. The core mechanics explained. Let's start with exactly what is happening when you pull that brake lever. Both systems share the same end goal. They use a caliper to squeeze brake pads against a metal rotor attached to your wheel hub. That friction slows you down. The difference lies entirely in how your finger pulling force gets transferred to the caliper. Mechanical disc brakes use a braided steel cable housed inside a casing. You pull the lever, the cable pulls a mechanical arm on the caliper, and that arm physically pushes the pads into the rotor. It is a direct physical connection. You can see it in action. You can feel the tension. Hydraulic brakes take a completely different approach. Instead of a steel cable, they use a sealed hose filled with fluid. This is usually mineral oil or brake fluid. When you pull the lever on a hydraulic system, you are pushing a small plunger that pressurizes the fluid inside the master cylinder. Because liquids don't compress, that pressure is transferred instantly and evenly through the hose directly to the pistons in the caliper. Those pistons then push the pads against the rotor. There is no stretching cable. There is no mechanical linkage grinding together. It is just pure fluid dynamics doing the heavy lifting for you. Stopping power and modulation. Here's the reality about stopping power. If you squeeze hard enough, both systems will lock up your wheels and send you skidding. But raw power is only half the story. The real conversation is about modulation. Modulation is your ability to control that power precisely. It's finding that sweet spot just before the tire loses traction. Hydraulic brakes win this category outright. Because the fluid does not compress, the translation of force from your finger to the brake pad is incredibly efficient. A gentle tap gives you a gentle drag. A firm squeeze gives you massive stopping power. You get exact, predictable control over your speed. Hydraulic brakes also multiply the force you apply. You can stop a heavy downhill mountain bike going 30 miles an hour with a single index finger. This dramatically reduces hand fatigue on long, steep descents. You hold the bars looser. Your arms stay relaxed. Mechanical brakes have a completely different personality. When you pull the lever, that steel cable stretches a tiny bit. The housing it runs through compresses slightly. This means some force you apply is lost to friction and flex within the system itself. You have to squeeze harder to get the same amount of stopping power. You might find yourself using 2 fingers on the lever just to get the necessary leverage. Modulation is decent, but it takes significantly more physical effort to feather the brakes. On a quick commute, you might not notice, but after 10 minutes of descending a steep trail, your forearms will absolutely feel the difference. Maintenance and adjustments. This is where the divide between these two systems becomes deeply personal. How much time do you actually want to spend working on your bike? Hydraulic brakes are largely a set-it-and-forget-it system. Because they are completely sealed from the outside, dirt, mud, and water cannot get inside and mess up the internal workings. They also self-adjust automatically. As your brake pads slowly wear down, the hydraulic fluid naturally pushes the pistons a little bit further out. The distance between the pad and the rotor stays perfectly consistent until the pads are gone. Your lever feel never changes. However, when hydraulic brakes do need maintenance, it is a serious project. Usually once a year, you need to bleed the brakes. This involves forcing new fluid through the system to push out old degraded fluid and trapped air bubbles. It requires a specific bleed kit, a bottle of the correct fluid, and a solid understanding of the procedure. It is messy and can be frustrating if you get it wrong. Mechanical brakes demand a totally different kind of attention. Because they use an open cable system, dirt and moisture eventually work their way into the housing. Over time, this creates friction, making the lever pull feel gritty. You will eventually need to replace the inner cables and outer housing. Furthermore, they do not self-adjust. As your brake pads wear down, the gap between the pad and the rotor gets larger. Your brake lever pulls much closer to the handlebar before the brakes engage. To fix this, you have to manually adjust the cable tension and dial in the pad position using a barrel adjuster or an Allen key. It takes 2 minutes, but you have to do it frequently to maintain performance. Reliability and field repairs. Let us talk about what happens when things go wrong far from home. For daily driving, both systems are incredibly reliable, but their failure modes are fundamentally different. Hydraulic brake failure is rare, but usually catastrophic. If you crash hard and sever a hydraulic hose, or if a seal blows and fluid leaks out, that brake is dead. You cannot fix it on the side of the trail. You need a brand new hose, new fluid, a bleed kit, and a clean workspace. If you're 50 miles deep in the backcountry, you are walking home. Mechanical brakes shine in exactly this remote scenario. They are the kings of off-grid reliability. If a brake cable snaps in the middle of nowhere, it is a minor inconvenience. You can carry a spare coiled cable in your jacket pocket. Swapping it out requires nothing more than a basic multi-tool and 5 minutes. You string the new cable through the housing, clamp it down tightly at the caliper, and you are back on the road. This single fact is exactly why you see mechanical disc brakes favored by people riding across continents, doing long-distance bikepacking, or touring through rural places where bike shops do not exist. When self-reliance is the goal, mechanical systems give you peace of mind that a sealed fluid system simply cannot match. Cost and accessibility. The financial entry point for these two braking systems is noticeably different. Hydraulic systems are naturally complex. They require highly precise manufacturing, specific rubber seals, and high-quality reinforced hoses to hold pressure without leaking. That makes them more expensive to buy up front and more expensive to replace if a part gets smashed in a nasty crash. You will typically only find them on mid-range to high-end bicycles. Mechanical brakes are significantly cheaper to produce. They come standard on almost every entry-level disc brake bike on the market today. If you are building a bike on a strict budget, mechanical is the clear path forward. Replacement parts are incredibly cheap. A new steel cable costs a few dollars. It can be bought at almost any bike shop or even big box sporting goods stores anywhere in the world. The final verdict. So which system actually belongs on your bike? It comes down to what you value most. If you want maximum performance, incredible stopping power with minimal finger effort, and a system that automatically adjusts itself while you ride, hydraulic is the only way to go. It is the industry standard for a very good reason. Once you experience that precise, effortless modulation, it is very hard to go back to pulling a steel cable. But do not write off mechanical brakes entirely. If you are on a tight budget, if you prefer doing all your own basic wrenching without dealing with toxic fluids, or if you are planning an expedition where a broken part could strand you for days, mechanical brakes offer a level of rugged simplicity and field repairability that hydraulics will never achieve. Choose the brake that fits your ride, not just the one with the most hype.